Hi, I'm Alex from Wilkinson Cameras. We've been in the Lake District today and it is truly horrible weather. It's been raining, windy, cold, but we've got 2 new cameras to test, so that's what we've been doing. We've now escaped to our Carlisle store in our brand new studio, which is where we're going to be doing workshops, and it'll also be available for hire. But before that, we've been getting cold and wet, testing out the brand new EOS R8. Canon have released the R50 and the EOS R8 today. Check out our separate video if you want to see more about the R50. But for now, I've got the R8 and we've been putting it to the test in and around Keswick. Alongside some portrait samples that we shot earlier this week, we've tried to give loads of stills and video samples for you to have a look at. The R8 is the latest addition to Canon's EOS R full-frame mirrorless camera lineup. It's the new entry into EOS R full-frame and replaces the EOS R. The original EOS R was released around about 5 years ago, and it was the beginning of Canon's venture into full-frame mirrorless cameras. It's been around for quite a while, and in that time we've seen the EOS R system expand and develop, as well as several cameras to choose from. There's also an extensive range of RF lenses now. Saying that the R8 is a direct replacement to the EOS R seems a bit unfair though, because the R8 is absolutely jam-packed with features that we've previously seen in higher spec models, and particularly takes a lot of the features we've seen in the R6 Mark II. The EOS R8 is aimed at enthusiast photographers who are looking to step up to full-frame mirrorless from DSLRs like the 90D, the 6D, for people who are new to photography but want the advantages that full-frame can offer without the same expense as models higher up the range. Like we've seen in other recent releases from Canon, the R8 is aimed at hybrid shooters who want the ability to take impressive stills and create professional looking video. You'll see on the top of the camera that there's a photo video mode toggle on the left hand side, and you can choose between which dedicated mode you want to use when you want to use it. This is a feature we've seen more and more in modern cameras, not just from Canon but from other brands. As more of a still shooter, I like that I can dedicate the camera to this mode and have all of my settings ready to go. But in this job, I do have to test video functions, so being able to switch into video mode and have everything ready to go, but with a wider range of custom options and quicker access to those video settings, it means I can get the content that I need for work and then easily return to what I prefer. Although, let's be honest, when it comes to the video, I mostly pass the camera over to Olivia and tell her to do her thing. So let's cover some of the key features for both stills and video and see what the R8 has to offer. The EOS R8 features the sensor and processor found in the EOS R6 Mark II, so you're getting a nice balance of resolution and good low light performance for both stills and video. There's no IBIS in the EOS R8, you do have digital stabilisation for video, and of course lenses often have IS as well, including the 24 to 50mm kit lens that this is available with. The digital stabilisation in video has 2 options, standard and enhanced. For my testing of this, I'd say it's okay, it's useful, but it's not the same as good IBIS or using a gimbal, and you'll have to remember that the scene will be cropped to compensate. Although there's no IBIS, I'm told that the R8 shares the same low light performance as the EOS R6 Mark II. The R6 II and the R6 before it are known for working well in low light. This means that you can have the confidence to push the ISO up without significant impact on your image quality and compensate for any movement with faster shutter speed. Native ISO in video appears to default to a range of 800 to 25,600, but you can expand this down to 100 if you wish. We didn't have the chance to test this in detail this time, I'm afraid. For stills, you have a range of 100 to 102,400. I mostly used auto, apart from when I was doing long exposure shots, but with the rain battering down on us and this non-weather sealed camera, I needed one less thing to think about, so auto it was. As Canon continues to try to entice DSLR users over to the benefits of mirrorless cameras like in previous models, they've included the optical viewfinder simulation. This simulates a traditional viewfinder using an HDR type of feature, and it doesn't give you an image preview like a mirrorless camera does as standard. Still shooters can access up to 40 frames per second continuous shooting with full AF. The AF doesn't miss a beat, it's really, really good. However, the buffer is tiny and there's a warning about distorted images, which means that Canon are fully aware of the limitations of the frame rate with this sensor type. It's useful if you want to better guarantee a shot, but don't buy this camera for the 40 frames per second feature alone. You can shoot with a lower frame rate than this, and you probably should for your card's sake and for your own sanity, both photographing and reviewing the images later. But it is an option, and it does work brilliantly with the AF. Speaking of AF, the AF in this camera is dual pixel CMOS AF2, which gives you incredible autofocus in every scenario and dependable, accurate tracking for both stills and video. It is so impressive. The tracking is phenomenal, both in automatic modes and with the ability to really customise your settings depending on your subject or scene. Subject detection includes eye AF with the option to have it automatically choose an eye or for you to set left or right yourself. Flexible zone AF allows you to choose the size of the zone suited to the subject, and there's also auto recognition of subjects including people, animals and cars. Thanks to how well this camera handles low light, AF is even accurate and fast in more challenging lighting situations. In fact, it's capable down to -6.5 EV. For video, there's up to 4K 60p, oversampled from 6K for detailed and rich results, C-Log 3, false colour mode, up to 180 frames per second in slow motion, full HD. And as with the R6 II, you do need to consider whether you want to shoot in PAL or NTSC. NTSC will open up that wider range of frame rates, and that's where you're going to get your 4K 60 as opposed to 4K 50. And you'll also get 180 frames per second slow motion in full HD as opposed to 120 in PAL. But you'll need to consider that doing so might introduce flicker. It depends where you're filming and what you're filming, and it will also depend on the output that you need. We've filmed all our sample footage in PAL at 4K 50 today. There's not the professional video options that you have on the R6 II, but there's certainly some professional video features in here which are a great learning point for people who want to take their videos to the next level but can't justify or can't currently afford a professional camera. I don't have the exact specs just now, but the dynamic range seems impressive and was certainly required in the conditions that we were testing it under in the Lake District. We were shooting in C-Log 3, and you can see how much detail Olivia has been able to retain in editing despite the gloomy weather and poor light on the day. For slow motion footage, you can have up to 180 frames per second in full HD. There's no recording limit, as you'd expect in most cameras now, but you will get a warning showing you that the camera may overheat and turn off when you select certain options. So whilst there might not be a hard-coded record limit, you are going to be limited by battery life, memory card size, and how hot the camera is getting. In video, like the R6 Mark II, the R8 features focus breathing suppression with compatible lenses. Sony have had this technology for a while now, but it looks like Canon might be rolling this out as a standard in their new models, if the R8 is anything to go by anyway. You're also getting false colour mode for video, previously seen on the EOS R6 II and Cinema EOS cameras. This allows you to see how your image is exposed in order to help you get it perfect. It's another tool for videographers along with zebras, and it's pretty impressive to find this in a non-professional camera. This will be a great option for those who are learning to use video to a higher level as a result. So, onto the build quality and handling of the EOS R8. As I've said before, this is the smallest and lightest full-frame EOS R camera. It's very similar in design and button layout to the EOS RP. In fact, looking at them side by side, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the exact same outer body. It doesn't have in-body image stabilisation or IBIS. This will help to contribute to that smaller size and weight. Where the EOS RP has an on-off button on the top right, the R8 replaces this with the video/still mode dial, and the on-off has been incorporated into the lock switch next to the function wheel on the right. I just love this new thinking when it comes to still/video modes and switching between them. It's so much easier to get the relevant settings for the type of content you're shooting that day. On top of the camera is a traditional mode dial, which applies to both stills or video modes. This has been updated with an auto mode as well as special scene modes, including a panorama option. In stills mode, when you turn the mode dial, little explanations pop up on the screen telling you which each one means. This is particularly useful for novice users as it simply explains what each function does. There's also options within the modes such as scene mode, including the panorama mode I mentioned before. You have various custom options which can be set up in the menu. On the back of the camera is a good sized touchscreen LCD monitor. I really liked using the touchscreen to set my focus point and to quickly change settings. Of course, there's the standard buttons you'd expect on the back of the camera, including the Q menu, general menu, directional buttons, etc. What I did miss on this versus cameras higher up the range is the joystick for controlling AF points when using the viewfinder and a wheel around the Q menu as opposed to the individual buttons. A wheel just makes it faster to navigate through the menu options. The menu options change depending on whether you're in still or video mode. You can still shoot video in stills mode, but your options are limited. Switch into the video mode and you'll see that not only are there more options opened up to you, but the Q menu is customised for video shooting as well. This is just so great from a workflow perspective, and it means that both still and video users aren't having to compromise. A nice feature, but certainly one to be expected at this price range, is the 2 settings wheels. The grip is a good size and comfortable to use all day. I did keep catching the AF on button on the back as the rear grip is quite shallow. I much prefer the feel of the grip on this compared to the Sony a7 III, for example, and I think there will be quite a few comparisons between these models. Some of my colleagues expressed that the camera felt a bit too light, but I think it still feels good quality. There can be a fine line between lightweight and plasticky, but I think the R8 feels solid enough and it feels good in my hand. On the side you have a remote input, microphone and headphone inputs, micro HDMI and USB-C for both data transfer and charging. There's a single SD slot on the bottom and it takes the Canon LPE17 battery. There's a reasonable sized EVF. I don't have the exact specifications for that just now, but it's bright and responsive. I didn't spot any perceivable lag. I'd maybe prefer a slightly larger eye cup if I was being fussy, but it worked well for when I was using it. On the top you've got Canon's new standard multifunction hot shoe. This allows you to send data 2 ways as well as powering compatible accessories such as the Canon DM-ED1 microphone, although we've been using it with a Rode mic today using the standard 3.5mm mic input. It's paired with Canon's new RF 24-50mm f4.5 to 6.3 IS STM lens. This is a very, very lightweight kit lens which compacts when not in use. A major niggle I have with these types of lenses is that you can't do anything with the camera until you unlock and expand them. That's kind of obvious if you need to take a photo, but quite often I like to get my settings ready ahead of time, and I find it really annoying that I can't just turn the camera on without having to open the lens to just close it back up again once I'm done. What this lens does have going for it though is how incredibly light it is, and it features IS, and it even supports focus breathing suppression in compatible cameras, which does include the EOS R8. You can find this in the video settings under lens aberration correction. For connectivity, Canon has included both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. That's 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi and version 4.2 Bluetooth. All the usual features are available via the free Canon Camera Connect app, which has just got an upgrade as well. You can use it for remote shooting with live view, transferring photos to your smart device, and lots of other useful things. It also features UVC, which means you can easily use it as a USB webcam or for streaming with no additional hardware required. For Apple users, it's MFI or Made for Apple certified for faster connection to your phone or tablet. I couldn't actually test this connectivity with the app, as when we had this camera, it technically didn't exist. You've probably noticed that lots of the features in this camera are also found in the EOS R6 Mark II. So why does the R8 exist? Why wouldn't you just buy an EOS R6 Mark II? Well, there are some important differences to consider. The R8 is smaller and lighter, and it's less expensive. But it also doesn't have things like IBIS, which is going to be a big consideration for a lot of people, particularly videographers. The R8 isn't weather sealed like the R6 Mark II is, which was definitely problematic today. We were getting a bit on edge. It was really pouring it down at one point. The R6 II is designed for a very different type of user. It has dual card slots, whereas the R8 has a single card slot. It takes a smaller battery, the LP17. And aside from the lack of weather sealing, the R8 also handles very differently. It's noticeably lighter and it has a different button layout. It doesn't feature a joystick, which I enjoyed on the R6 Mark II and I did miss on this camera. And finally, you have a more expansive selection of video options on the R6 Mark II. So essentially, this is a scaled down baby version of the R6 Mark II. And I think at this price point, it represents good value. And it's a good option for getting into the EOS R full frame system. If you need a more professional camera with a more professional design, you're going to want the EOS R6 Mark II. But if you want to step up to full frame, I think this is a good choice. And there are other mirrorless systems that you might want to consider, but Canon are showing a lot of dedication to developing the R series and RF lenses. The RF lens lineup is very, very good, and there's a growing range of lenses at different price points. The newly designed lenses are much smaller and lighter than their older counterparts, and in many cases, they're actually better quality. I think Canon users are going to enjoy this addition to the lineup, but when you look at the specs versus the specs of the Sony a7 III, which is currently the same price as the EOS R8 is going to launch at, if you're not already invested in Canon, you are maybe going to question whether to go for Sony or Canon at this price range. After all, the Sony a7 III has IBIS, dual card slots and a bigger battery. I personally think it does feel like better build quality. We've not tested them side by side, and there are some key differences. There's lots of similarities, but there are some differences. And I think I'd like to get them side by side before I make a definitive decision. But I think this is the camera that is going to come up as but why would I buy the R8 when I could buy this? But if you're a Canon user or you like the Canon system, the R8 is a viable option for you. And if you decided that the R8 is for you, then you can buy the body only for a launch price of $1,699, or you can use it with this new 24 to 50mm kit lens at $1,899. Check out our website on the links below for any pre-order or current promotions, or if you want to buy one. If you've got any questions or feedback, please let us know in the comments. Don't forget that Canon also released the EOS R50 today, which is a very different camera. We've also done a review of that, so check that out as well. Are these cameras that you're hoping to see from Canon? Is this the camera that you were hoping was going to be released right now? Or were you hoping that there'd be a true entry-level EOS R system camera to replace the likes of beginner DSLRs such as the EOS 1300D? Please let us know in the comments. Please give this video a like, because we have been cold and wet and blown about in the wind to bring you this glorious content today. And of course, please subscribe so that you can be the first to see all our latest reviews and videos. Thanks for watching.